All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. My name is Nathan. Welcome to Hale. I am joined by Bailee. Hi, Bailee.
Hi.
Hi. Uh, we are ranking the Harry Potter books tonight. My name is Nathan. Sorry about that. So, super excited for everyone to be here, whether you're watching it live or watching the recording. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, we'll be ranking the books tonight, and so we're really excited. The way we want this to work is if you have read the books, if you're in the comments section right now, we're hoping that as we rank each of our books that you'll include your ranking as well. So rather than just dropping your ranking right off the bat, we hope that it's more of a thing where it's like we share our number 7, you share your number 7, and then so on and so forth up until our number 1. I'm reading some of the comments so far. Bernardo's here, never read the books, but always wanted to one day. Well, Bernardo, if you're still here, hopefully this can be the video that kind of motivates you on reading the books because they are outstanding. Tunes by Ryan, let's go. And then Carson Brown, epic. I agree. Epic indeed. Really quickly though, before we get started, Bailee, when's the last time that you read these books?
Okay, so I'll just give you like the breakdown of my history with them
Yeah,
because
let's hear it.
it's actually kind of short. As much as like Harry Potter feels like it was a major part of my childhood, I feel like that's kind of because of other people in my life, not necessarily because I read the books, because I only read the first 2 books for sure when I was a kid. I'm not sure about the third one. And then throughout high school, I like wanted to read them, but then just didn't get around to it. And then towards the end of high school, my best friend was reading them. And then she wanted to talk about them. And I was like, why have I waited so long? So the first time that I fully read the series, starting over from the beginning, was 2017. And that's the only time I've like read all of them through. Like in order to prepare for this, I like looked over my Goodreads reviews and like obviously I've seen like the movies so many times now, but yeah. I'm more of like a visual person in terms of I'll remember the movies more. That's why I wanted to like go over things like in the books in case there are specific scenes that are, more significant and stuff. But it's been a number of years, but at least it hasn't been like a decade.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. No, that's actually, I was kind of in the same position where as a kid, I read the second book. I think the first time I read it all the way through, because like when I was a kid, I did this thing where I'd like pretend to read it and be like, wow, this is such a good book. But like, it's so stupid. And I'd never read it as a kid. But finally, I think I was in 5th grade. I read the second one. I read the second one before the first one. Really weird. But I read the second one because that was my favorite movie. And so like this whole time I've always I've read the whole series, but the second book I've read the most, but we'll talk about that. Anyways, I read the second one and then I was like, okay, I got all the books and I started over. So I read the first one, the second one again, and then 3, 4, I stop at 5, take a few years break. Or it's not that like, I don't know if I lost interest or what, maybe it was just like the lack of motivation because 5 is so big, but I stopped reading it. And when I went back to it a few months later, had no idea what was going on. So I stopped that time. Finally, junior year of high school or around that time, maybe it was like it was like summertime. I'm not sure, but I read the books in high school. So I think that was junior year. I think that would have been like 2014 for me. And I love them. And that's when I made that really cringy book ranking on this channel. For those who don't know, my first video on this channel is the Harry Potter book ranking. So my list has changed a little bit because this last summer I reread all of them.
Yeah, and we went through them so quickly.
To be fair, I listened to a lot of them too. So it was a mix of reading them and then anytime I was in the car, I would turn on the audiobooks because it's like such an easy way to like get through a book. But I also would listen to it at like 1.3, 1.4 speed because like normal speed in audiobooks is too slow.
It's so slow. Yeah.
It's so slow. So
and the more you listen to audiobooks, like the faster it goes. Like I never thought I'd be able to listen to an audiobook on 2 times speed, but like I always start off at like 1.5, but then as I like continue, you get used to it.
Yeah.
But like more recently with listening to audiobooks for me, it's been closer to like 2.
That's
It
impressive.
sounds crazy, but
Yeah, I haven't made it to that. I haven't made it to the 2 club yet. I think I think because of the narrator, obviously he has a British accent. Maybe it was like because of the British accent or something, but I like tried 1.5 speed and I was like, nah, I'm gonna go back to like 1.3. It was like 1.3 or something, but
it's
it
not
was still just like fast
preferable like
enough.
super fast,
Mhm.
but I at least need like 1.5.
My old roommate would hear me listening to audiobooks and he would like laugh at me. And it's like, that's not a weird thing. He laughed at the speed I was listening to it. Like he would
Oh,
laugh because it was talking so fast. And I'm like, this isn't like a new thing. People listen to things at a fast speed all the time. Like sometimes I'll even watch YouTube videos at 1.5 speed.
I do too. And what's funny, actually, now that you mentioned that, whenever I'm watching a video and it's going really fast, my mom will walk in and she'll be like, blah, 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 blah. How can you understand what they're saying? I'm like, well, I've been sitting here listening to it.
Yeah, you're in the zone. You
Yeah.
don't like if I were just like jumping in, it'd probably be a little confusing, but
Yeah.
like starting from the beginning, it totally makes sense. But okay, we will start our ranking. A few more comments. Read the books. They good. I second that. Yes. I'm in the middle of reading the 3rd one. Yeah, well, you'll see where our rankings are. I like that book. Books are way better than the films. Agree? Yes, to a certain extent, because I still love the movies too.
Yeah, they're also just like really nostalgic. I mean, for
Yeah.
me, I've seen the first 2 like countless times, like I don't
Yeah.
even know. And then I had only seen the 3rd one like one time for a number of years. I went like almost until reading the books without having seen it again, but then I ended up watching it with my friend. But then the other ones I hadn't watched until after I read the books. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Wow, so you didn't watch the rest of the series until around 2017?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. That's awesome. Gotta shout out Gavin because I don't think he's ever missed a live stream of mine. So hello, Gavin. Thank you for joining. Okay, everyone. So we are going to start off with our number 7 ranking. I'm just going to put it in the chat. That's not what I want. I want this. Okay. Number 7, Bailee, why don't you start us off with your number 7 pick?
Okay, and this doesn't really count for this one, but I'm going with like spoilers now, right? Like,
oh yeah,
I was
yeah.
kind of avoiding like saying anything specific, but we haven't gone into detail anyway.
Yeah, we're going to be spoiling the books. Everything. I feel like everything that we spoil in the books, if you've seen the movies, it's spoiled anyways. I mean, yes, there's added in details in the books, and so if you don't want to hear the deleted scenes, or like I should say the original scenes of the book, then well, don't watch this live stream. But we'll be talking. We'll be very transparent about the books and everything. And so, also really quickly, I forgot to say this. I wanted to throw out there. I don't want to speak for you, but I love all of these books, and so like, okay, cool. I think
that's what I was going to start with, is just being like, we're ranking 7 really good books. It's all like personal preference and just the way that we were thinking about it.
Yes, exactly. So before you attack our ranking, this is we like them all, so just remember that. But anyways, okay, Bailee, what is your number 7?
My number 7 is the first book. The lighting's kind of weird. You're gonna see a lot of like green reflected because the walls of this room are green. But
no, it's great.
Yeah, Sorcerer's Stone. Mostly because this is just like the first book. It's the introduction and it's the shortest one. I love it, and it's definitely like the most nostalgic, especially the movie for me. But just compared to everything that's in the other books, it seems lacking as much as you love it. And I do have like notes here. I don't know how much I'm really gonna look at them. Hold on, sorry.
No, you're totally fine.
Well, I don't know. It's just like, it's the beginning, so it's kind of weird for me actually to put something that's in the beginning last, because I love like origin stories.
Yep,
and like sometimes if I finish a series, whether it's a book series or like a TV show, it makes me want to like just start the show over again.
Yeah.
Depending on how like maybe the last episode is, but sometimes they get like super nostalgic and like will show little hints of like what was first there. And
Yeah.
I mean, it lays the groundwork well. Clearly, there's like a lot that still has to be fleshed out, but there's still things that are introduced like within the last book. So it's just something that's part of the series.
Yeah.
And I also think that, well, reading the book, no, I'll get to that one later.
Okay.
Well, just like a point I was going to make. And I do think that the reveal with like Quirrell being like the bad guy, I think that's actually pretty surprising for like a children's story, because I think usually when there's a character who's set up as the bad one, the way that like Snape is set up in this, like that usually is the bad person.
Yeah, because it's a children's book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think things are done pretty interestingly here for the setup. And of course, I think part of thinking about Harry Potter for me is just like knowing that so many things afterwards were inspired by it.
Yeah.
And then one like downside to this though is that I really hate like the fat phobia in this, the way that like Dudley is talked about.
Yeah.
It really hypocritical, I think, in the way that things are said, just because there will be scenes where like Dudley is like eating a lot, but then later in the book you have Harry and like everyone at Hogwarts like chowing down on these huge feasts. Like what?
And their not to mention their portrait to get into their Gryffindor house is literally the portrait of the fat lady. It's really funny.
Yeah, that's mostly what I have for that one. So.
Nice. So my number 7, this is the only ones we know. We knew both of our number 7s going into it, but it's also Sorcerer's Stone. Now, I agree with everything that Bailee said. Normally the first, I'm trying to look for like a position where I don't know. Okay. We'll do this. So normally the first book, the first story should be one of the better ones. Like even look at like Star Wars, like A New Hope is considered to this day one of the best Star Wars movies. But for me, it's a thing where it's solely a reason. I think if I had read all of these books and hadn't seen any of the movies, like let's just say we live in a world where the movies don't exist, I'd only read the movies or the books, maybe this one would rank higher. But I think because of like how memorized all of the content in this story is for me, like seeing the movie so many times, and then I've read the book, I've read this one 3 times. All of these repeat visits to the story, it's just one of those stories that like I know it so well, and so reading a book for it, it's kind of just like, all right, I'm only doing this because I want to get to the later books. Come on, I want to refresh myself. So that's like the biggest thing, but I still love it. I think it's a great origin, a great opening, and this is like an amazing cover. It's just so good. But that's what I have to say about that. There's a few quick comments. Gavin, I always want you in the chat. Let's do this. Get these facts straight. Brandon, have all the books. Still need to read from 3 to 7. Whoops. Nice. Yeah, that'd be good. Try to read all 5 books tomorrow before our stream, Brandon. No, just kidding.
Audio book on 2.5 speed. Just
yeah. Listen to it at beyond 2 speed. I'm reading the 3rd one now. Ron always be chowing on food. LOL. I like how in the later movies, I think they do this in the books too. I just read the books and I'm already doubting myself, but I like how they acknowledge, like Hermione is always like, "Will you ever stop eating, Ron?" Jeez. No, it's so fun. But to those who have read the books, what is your number 7? What is your least favorite Harry Potter book? Comment now in the chat. While you comment that, we are going to move on to our number 6. Bailee, what is your number 6 book?
Oh, hold on. Oh, The Chamber of Secrets. I'm just going backwards for now.
Nice.
This is sort of just similar to the Sorcerer's Stone, where it's the second shortest, and you're starting to get into things more, and I do like that things like you're not like fully aware of it in the book when you like first read it, obviously, and then until like later books. But I do like that there's hints at like the bigger world and like the bigger picture, if you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Just like mostly with like Tom Riddle, who actually I like Tom Riddle. I know that sounds kind of weird, but like
No, that's cool.
he's super intriguing in this. And actually, like I think as a kid, it took me multiple times of seeing the movie to be like, wait, he's Voldemort. Like,
Yeah.
of course he is. But it's just
I
from
am
like
Lord Voldemort.
yeah, it's just like he's so different from this like entity that we hear about. And I like Voldemort as like this, yeah, just like as an entity. I feel like that's the best word for it, just because he's not he's so much more mysterious when he's not like a physical person, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Sorry, looking at my notes again, if there's anything else that I want to mention. Oh, I have written down that like I feel like J.K. Rowling forgot what she wrote in this book when she was like making those tweets, which are a whole mess. But when she was making tweets about if students when they were going to the bathroom before modern plumbing, and they would just like clean it up magically, and I'm like, did you like forget there's a whole snake going through the plumbing that was done by one of the founders of Hogwarts? Like, what are you doing? Did you forget that?
It's so true. That's so true. I didn't even think about that. It's J.K. Rowling. Actually,
I'm not even touching on her.
Yeah, we'll just solely books. We're talking the books. I swear we're not purposely doing this, but my number 6 is also Chamber of Secrets.
It's just the other books are so much bigger and there's so much more world to them. So it's like you can't place it higher.
I completely agree. And it's for the same reasons. The first 2 books and the first 2 movies are the most I hate using the word childish because I still love them so much, but that's just kind of what they are. It's just a very welcoming, warming first 2 entries to the story.
Well, and they're kids as characters too. So it's like it's not going to get darker until you're like further into the series.
Yeah, that is so true. Also, I think the only reason this one takes an edge on the first book is because I've read it the most times. I've read this one 4 times, and then the first, third, and fourth 3 times, and then the last 3 2 times. Anyways, for anyone who was wondering that random information. But I like the mystery behind this one, although I try to talk about it as if I read it for the first time this last summer, because just like the first one, I know everything that's going to happen, especially because both movies are such good adaptations for the first 2 books. And so like,
because they're so short, so they can fit everything.
Exactly. And so I try to read them treating it as if it's like my first time, and I'm like, oh, like that's a good way to build a story and everything, or mystery. But the whole thing with the mirrors and finding out like why everyone was petrified and not killed by this basilisk, it's very cleverly done. I think that at some points the plot is a little bit too convenient. Like, for an example, what are the odds that they find the diary? I think it's like the bathroom floods and they find the diary. It's like, what are the odds that they're on the right floor at the right time to find the diary? And then also the whole scene with like the flying car saving them in the forest when Aragog is attacking and all the spiders. It's like, all right, but it builds for a really exciting story. So these are all kind of like nitpicky complaints. Oh, also Draco Malfoy is the epitome of a school bully in this story.
I know.
Really, in all the books, like he is just like with his stupid name calling, and he's so immature. But it's kind of funny if more than anything else.
Well, and something that I'll touch on later is that I don't ever find him like really as like a threatening bad guy in a way, because he seems like he's set up as like another enemy against Harry, and it's like, but he's just mean to Harry, and that's kind of it.
He's just like I don't know, like I just love how this one, the biggest conflict is you filthy little mudblood. It's like the last ones were the last books, there's deaths in every single book starting in like the 4th one, and like it's just funny. But okay, really quickly, okay, number 7 for Gavin is Chamber. Besides me never reading the books, always love the artwork on the books. Oh yeah, me absolutely too. Bernardo, I'll give you a get out of jail free card. You can rank the covers. Okay, Chamber of Secrets. Keep in mind, I haven't read. Okay, yeah, that's fair. Haven't read all of them. Number 6 will be Goblet of Fire. Okay, so your number 6 is Goblet of Fire. Number 6 is Chamber of Secrets. Nice. Guys, you got to wait till Nate says we can comment our number 6. We got to follow his rules. Thank you, Gavin, for keeping peace in the chat. My number 7 is Chamber. Number 6 is Stone. My father will hear about this. Yeah. Oh, Draco. And then Scared Potter. You wish. Yeah, the duel in the book between Draco and Harry is so much funnier. Sorry, guys. My dog is in here, and he's crying to be taken out. I'm going to quickly take him out and take him on a field trip. But the duel between the two characters is so funny. Like, I don't know. It's just totally different than the movie. It's like they tickle each other instead of actually like throwing each other across the room and stuff. It's just, I don't know what it is, but I think it's funnier in the book. Cooler in the movie, funnier in the book. But okay, we have another comment. Order of the Phoenix is number 6. That's crazy. I love Order of the Phoenix, but I guess we're talking about stories that we all love, so I guess it's not too crazy.
Also, I like that person's icon picture.
I don't. Okay, what is that? I don't know what that is.
It's David Lynch's character in Twin Peaks. Gordon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
If anyone doesn't know, Twin Peaks is my favorite show.
Nice. Twin Peaks is the show that it's been that and New Girl and Breaking Bad are like the most requested TV shows for me to watch, and I still haven't seen any of them. But anyways, let's move on to our number 5. Really quickly, got to throw in Order of Phoenix number 7. All right. Was it because it was so long, or why was it your number 7?
I think a lot of people don't like Order of the Phoenix the way that just Harry like behaves in it.
He's
like
super moody.
That's the like angsty teen Harry, and I think it gets on people's nerves.
Yeah, that's actually a very fair point. Gavin loves you.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 6, Sorcerer. All right. Got it, Gavin. And then it was long. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we are moving on to our number 5. Bailee, what is your number 5?
Okay. My number 5 is Goblet of Fire.
My number 5 too. I'm just gonna.
Oh, wow.
That's gosh. Okay. This is funny.
Okay. So this is the one. I don't know. I think this one and the next one are the ones that I had the most difficult time with, because while this is not my favorite, I think it's possibly the best written book. And this is, I had messaged you about like, are we thinking about this in terms of like favorites or what we think is the best? Because the light is like directly on Harry's face. And yeah, I just think that the way that this is constructed overall, and I mean, yeah, it's like super long. I kind of don't mind that just because there is so much involved in this. You have the Tri-Wizard Tournament and the Quidditch World Cup. And I also kind of just like that those are knocked out in terms of like both being in this book, because I'm not a huge like sporty like competition person. So those things I'm not really interested in. And I was actually surprised at how much I feel like those aren't really a part of the book. Like there's just like the one chapter for each event for the tournament. And I guess I expected like a lot more, because I think this is my best friend's favorite book. And so she was like, I can't wait till you get to Goblet of Fire. It's my favorite. And I was like, okay, but I don't even like competition stuff, so I don't know. And just like, in terms of me thinking that this is the best, like, just it's so well crafted and like planned out and executed, just not necessarily like perfectly, but at least compared to the other books, it's at the top. And like, which is why this is like, I don't know. It's like kind of hard to explain, but I like how there's like twist after twist. I love when this happens in books and like movies and stuff. Like at first, at the end, when first of all, it's just like the port key thing, and you're like, wait, what's happening? The whole graveyard scene and like everything up to like the starting with the last event and everything after that is like my favorite part of this book, just because that's when like everything is going down.
Yes.
But then when Harry like returns and then like Mad-Eye Moody takes him, and then you're like starting to realize that like Mad-Eye Moody may be the bad guy.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no, like I kind of liked him. And then you realize it's not even Mad-Eye Moody, which I hate the way the movie does this, because it totally makes it obvious with like
I know.
the tongue thing.
The tongue thing, yeah.
And like even it's mostly I feel like also because that's like a visual thing. Whereas if there was I don't remember if the tongue thing is like in the book or not, but that's such a small detail that you wouldn't even pick up on, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine like someone actually predicting that Barty Crouch Jr. is actually Mad-Eye Moody the whole time. And so just like that twist after twist. And like, I mean, you kind of just think that Mad-Eye Moody is like this kind of drunk guy the whole time because he's like, he has the flask, but it ends up being the polyjuice potion. And
so
there's like other ways that things like connect, but I'll let you talk about it now.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say really quickly. So just to clarify, I know you watched all the rest of the movies in 2017. So did you read 4 through 7 and then watch the movies? So reading the books, was it new? Like, was it the first time getting into each story since you watched the movies late?
Wait, what?
Okay, yeah, sorry. So, okay. So you watched all the movies in 2017, right?
Yeah. Like after I didn't watch any of the movies again until I had finished reading all of the books.
Okay, so
even though I had seen like 1, 2, and 3 previously, I didn't even watch like the 4th until after I had read the 7th book.
So reading the books 4, 5, 6, and 7, that was your first time. Like reading the book, you read the book before you saw the movie is what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's super cool because for you, reading the 4th book, the Portkey, going to the graveyard, Mad-Eye and Barty Crouch Jr.
Like I had no idea what anything was going to be like going into most of the book. I mean, I had heard like something. I think I knew that like Dumbledore dies at through in the series. I had heard like characters' names before, but I had heard of certain terms like Horcruxes, but I like didn't know what that was.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was all like, I'm very surprised I was able to go so long without being more spoiled for things.
Yeah.
So
that's impressive. I envy you for being able to read it without like knowing anything, because I've said it before, but I read all the books after I had seen all the movies. But it was still a treat because it was just like, it was almost like I was reading extended scenes to the movies, which I loved. But my number 5 is Goblet of Fire too. For me, I completely agree with what you were saying about the twists, how good they are. I'm looking at my Goodreads also, and something I mentioned is that Prisoner of Azkaban has a really while Prisoner of Azkaban has a great twist with like Sirius Black actually being a good guy. I think Goblet of Fire is much more of an intricate story. The whole entire story, they're laying little tiny hints for you. Like for an example, at the second task, Crumb says, "You have a beetle in your hair," Hermione or whatever he calls Hermione. Like, and there's like Harry Harry's in class.
They leave that out. There's so much to this book that you can't put in the movie. So like I know that there were going to be specific scenes I wasn't going to be able to like remember. I like tried skimming, but I felt like my reviews and stuff and like things that I had like commented before were going to be more helpful than trying to like get through all the books again. Not that I was planning on doing that.
I didn't expect you to do that. But there's like little hints throughout the whole entire book where you hear about a bug being in the scene several times. And then at the end, it's revealed, oh, that's how Rita Skeeter was getting all of her juicy news because she's an animagus. She can turn into a beetle. And so little things like that were just like super cool. And then, I was going to say it's even more enjoyable on a reread because even though I've seen the movie, reading the book for the first time felt like a completely new experience. I mean, I knew about the ending and everything. I knew the spoilers and everything. But when you read the book, I think to me, Goblet of Fire's movie is the worst adaptation. It's still a good adaptation, but I think that it's like the weakest adaptation just because there's a lot of story elements and characters they leave out. So when I read the book for the first time,
Mhm.
it almost felt like it was like a new story for me because of just how much they left out. So rereading it was even better because you know about those things. So like when Harry says he swat at a bug in his divination class, I think it is, or whatever it is, you're like, oh, that's Rita Skeeter. And then when you hear them, there's one scene where they see Malfoy like talking in his hand, and it's
Oh
like
yeah.
when you've reread it, you're like, oh, he has the bug in his hand and he's talking to her. It's just like little things like that, which I highly commend Goblet of Fire for, just like how well the story is built up.
Yeah.
And even like, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say there's like a few more things that I wanted to mention that I was looking at.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so like with the end where like they're in the hospital and stuff, and like the scenes where basically like everyone, I love that like everyone is there. Like every significant character is at the end point where Dumbledore and like Harry are talking about like what happened, and I love that scene, but I hate it at the same time because like you can feel that like things are about to change. Like this is definitely going to be the last book where things seem somewhat normal. And even there's like a moment between like Sirius and Snape who like hate each other, but you can like tell that they both are recognizing that like things are going to get worse and we're going to have to fight together. And
is that the scene where Sirius, I think he gets out of animate, like he's a black dog and then he turns back to a human, and that's when like everyone finds out that Sirius is an animagus. I think it's towards the end when they're at the hospital.
And then so I love that like togetherness that you can like sense, and like especially the protectiveness of just like all the students at Hogwarts and Hogwarts itself, and like Harry specifically, of course. But I hate Fudge. Fudge is my least favorite character, and just like if he just would believe Harry, then he could have like prepared and prevented people's deaths. And like he was so afraid of, and like he was in denial as well, that he didn't want to be like the minister who like was minister when Voldemort comes back into power. And it's like, but you're like inadvertently doing that by not believing Harry. So please,
I think
you're a minister, get it together.
Yeah, one of the biggest, I don't even know if it's a plot hole or just like you could have, I don't know. I heard once that someone hates about Harry Potter is why didn't Fudge just use I can never pronounce it, but the Veritaserum, the truth potion on Harry? Why didn't he just give it to him and say, is Voldemort back? And then Harry could have just said, yes, under the potion, and Fudge would have been like,
we wouldn't have the rest of the series, would we?
It's true. It's true. It's very true. But I think it also shows how prideful leadership is, like how prideful political figures for that matter is. We're not getting political here, but we're just like,
no, there is some sort of like selfishness to their personality.
Yeah. So even if that was like, I agree with that to a certain extent, but then I'm also like, would Fudge want to take the time to admit that he was wrong and go through the potion? But anyways, that's kind of a thing that bothers me. But
at that point, like not that many people know. It's just whoever is like in that room. And then also like one more scene that I really love in this is when like I feel like Neville starts to become more of a character, and actually that's like a huge difference I think in the movies and the books, that Neville's more of a character in the books, and I love that because he's definitely one of my favorites. I have like a top 3, and then like maybe Neville is 4th. But like this is the book where Harry finds out like what happened to Neville's parents and why he lives with his grandma, and that's so touching, as well as like Harry keeps it a secret for him until in the next book the rest of the group like finds out, and they're like, oh,
yeah, it's so sweet. That's another thing that's just like completely left out of the fourth movie. It's really frustrating. I have my whole entire, for the summer series I'm doing with each movie, my whole entire video for the Goblet of Fire movie was talking about I had to list a pro for every con I have with it because I just about the movie. But okay, really quickly, we have some rankings. Okay, Gavin, number 5, Goblet of Fire for me too. Noise. Sorry about that, man. Sorry. Number 5 would be Philosopher's Stone. It's a great start to the series, but really childish. Yep. I always thought Harry looked like a mad scientist on the cover. He kind of does, actually. That's hilarious. I've always liked Harry in this one though, because he's such a happy little 14-year-old kid.
Harry is probably my favorite character. I kind of go back and forth between Harry and Luna, and then like and Lupin. They make out my top 3 favorite characters. So
you said it was Harry, Luna, and Lupin.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great top 3. My top 3 is just like, it's so cliche. I need to think about it more, but like, I love the golden trio, Harry, Hermione, and Ron. I don't know which one's my favorite though. Like it switches. Like I always thought it was Ron, but after rereading the series, I think it might be Hermione. I don't know. It's hard.
I think that I like Ron like kind of better in the movies. I don't know. Like I kind of assumed that Ron would be my favorite character when I was reading the books for the first time, and then I was like, oh, I think Harry is. Like I was surprised at how much I liked him, mostly because he's not my favorite in the movies, but then also I usually don't gravitate towards like the main character as a favorite. It depends sometimes, but I think what works so well with this and like why Harry is my favorite is just that it's from his perspective. So you're like, you feel like more connected with him. And obviously I know that's kind of used as like a plot device in terms of like him finding out that he's a wizard. And now he's like the catalyst of like letting you in on the wizarding world and stuff like that. But I like getting to know more of his like thoughts and stuff like that.
Yeah. I really don't like Sirius Black's attitude towards Harry in the book in Phoenix, so his death doesn't hit for me as much as it does in the Order of the Phoenix movie. Okay. Yeah, in the book, there's more time for Sirius to kind of be real with Harry, and so they don't necessarily get in arguments, but they get in disagreements, or we could spend a whole video just talking about book Sirius Black. It's a very much more developed character.
And I think in the movie, they try to like really play out that sort of like fatherly relationship that they can have.
Yep. Yeah, that's like their big focus, it seems like. I think this is Bernardo's ranking of the book covers, so I'm so glad we caught that. Thank you very much. Goblet of Fire, that book cover is fire. Well, okay, no pun intended. It's an amazing book cover, so great number 1 there. Number 5's Deathly Hallows. Number 5's Goblet. Amen. I kind of zoned out too when Nate was talking for that brief moment, so it's okay, Bailee. Okay, great. Thanks, Gavin. Number 5 is Philosopher's Stone for me. It's a great introduction with great world building, but compared to the others, it's lower for me. Okay. Because they cut a lot of, talking about the movie there. Although the Goblet of Fire is not very truthful to the book, it has some great directing, and when Voldemort comes to life, I had chills. Yeah, absolutely. The Goblet of Fire movie definitely...
Voldemort.
I had chills. So, the movie definitely has some redeeming qualities to it. It just like disappoints me because there's so many things left out. Oh yeah, he's back. That's exactly how Fudge says it. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's back. I didn't even see that comment. It's funny. Also, the difference between I think it's supposed to be Dobby and Neville getting the green thing. Oh, the gillyweed to swim. Can't think of it. Yeah, gillyweed. Yeah, that's true. Snape, Lupin, and Sirius are my 3 favorite characters. That's a great top 3. Dumbledore, Lupin, and Bellatrix, top 3 characters. Sorry, LOL. Bellatrix, ooh, that's impressive, man. My when I was watching the movies with my little sister, she hates Bellatrix, but I can see liking her too because she's just so psychotic. She's insane. Okay, we're at number 4. Bailee, what is your number 4 book?
I have the Order of the Phoenix.
Nice.
So, this one and the Goblet of Fire is the one that I was like, the 2 I was going between the most for like these 2 rankings.
Yeah.
But I think in hindsight, I like this better because I don't find Harry that annoying or like whiny or whatever. Like I understand that he's like angry, especially because I mean, obviously you realize later on that he has this sort of like connection with Voldemort, but then at the same time, like half of the people around him aren't believing him, and he like saw Cedric die in the previous book, and like he had saw Voldemort like basically be resurrected, and so I feel like it just sort of enhances his isolation in this one. looking at other things that I have here. Oh yeah, this is of course the book where like Luna is introduced, and I love Luna. I just love Luna. Also, I'm a Ravenclaw, so I feel like
nice.
I connect to like Hermione's intelligence, not to just be like, hey, I'm intelligent, but I relate to like her wanting to learn and her smarts, and then like Luna's kind of like quirkiness and just I admire her ability to like be herself and not even care what other people are thinking.
Mm-hmm. Luna's
So
amazing.
yeah, and I love you see it later in like the next book I feel like more, but I love like the friendship that Harry and Luna have, and especially because in this book he is so like ostracized, like she is as well. And so and then of course there's like the scenes where he's like, what are these things? And then she's like, these are thestrals. Like
Yep.
you haven't been able to see them this whole time because like now you've seen death with your own eyes and in an effective way. Of course you can't talk about this book without mentioning Umbridge, who I kind of have mixed feelings on because I don't like absolutely hate her. I like obviously I said that Fudge is my least favorite character because he has more power and is able to do things where I feel like Umbridge just like thinks that she can do things, but in my mind she's like not really effective. Like I don't know, she frustrates me because I can see that she has like goals and ambition, and she's trying to do things, and I just don't see it as being effective. I'm like, why? No.
Yeah.
And like as much as I don't like her methods and things like that, I wouldn't like, okay, so Harry has like a scar on his hand, like, okay, what is that gonna do? Like they're still planning like things against you and trying to like train themselves in defense against the dark arts and things like that. So like what she's doing ultimately, like it's not doing anything. I don't know. It frustrates me because like people like hate her and I'm like, but she's not even I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you go now.
Yeah. So while she was talking, I also shared just some of the chat really quickly. Gavin says, Ravenclaw gang, my sister also loves Luna. She actually named her car Luna. So there's that. I'll share my number 4. Shouldn't come as any surprise. It's Order of the Phoenix.
Wow.
This is insane. We didn't talk about our rankings
beforehand,
so this is going it's going swimmingly. This is amazing. I'll share this while I talk.
It's going to make it like less confusing. It's nice that we're talking about the same things.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see if our top 3s align because, 4 for 4. And it looks like Peter is also 4 for 4 with us too. So, it's going very well. But, so for me, Order of the Phoenix, I feel like I have talked about this so much recently, mostly like with the movie. Like anytime I bring up the movie, I say the same exact thing, but I agree with it. Obviously, the book is the original source material. It's just that story of rebellion. It's that story of the kids fighting back and forming the Dumbledore's army in secret and letting Harry's voice be heard. Like there's a part in this book that's not in the movie where they get with. So at the end of the 4th book, Hermione finds out that Rita Skeeter is an animagus, an unregistered animagus. And that's like a big no-no for the Harry Potter world. You have to be a registered animagus. And because Rita is an unregistered one, she's breaking the law. So Hermione blackmails her basically. Yeah, she blackmails her and basically says, you can no longer write misleading articles about good people. And if you do, I will tell the ministry about your unregistered animagus secret. So in this one, they use Rita Skeeter to their advantage, and they have Rita Skeeter publish an article in the Quibbler, which is the article, the magazine, newspaper that Luna's father prints. And it's basically a story about what really happened the night that Cedric Diggory died, and it's the truth. It's from Harry. And so that whole element, it's excluded from the movie, and I can see why they excluded it, because it's not like it's a crucial point, but it's just one of those extra scenes that is another reason you should read the books, because it's so exciting. And of course, in the book, right when that happens, Umbridge bans every single copy of the Quibbler in the whole school. So it's little things like that. I think that everyone talks about how much they hate Umbridge in the movie, but the book, she annoys me even more. And I think it's what you were saying with she thinks she has the authority, but she really like it's just her controllingness, how she thinks that she owns the place. That's really frustrating.
Yeah.
She bans Harry and Fred and George from playing Quidditch. There's someone who's coming to the front door. Okay, I think they're delivering a package. But I'm using the natural lighting, so I don't want them to see me through the window. Fred and George from playing Quidditch. It's a lifelong ban, but obviously when she's not in the book, the next book, the ban is over. But and then in the book, Harry does detention way more than in the movie. Like, it's every night for weeks that he's doing the detention. And I will say that something that is not in the book, that's in the movie, that I really like, is the line where Harry says, "I'm sorry, Professor, but I must not tell lies." Like, that's such a drop the mic moment in the movie. And that's like,
especially because this is like, he's like more sassy in this one. I mean, he's sassy kind of throughout all the books, but like obviously it's peak in Order of the Phoenix.
Yes, absolutely. That reminds me, I'm going to say this right now. It's from the Half-Blood Prince book, but I'm going to say it right now because I'll forget it if I don't say it now. Okay. It's when Harry and Snape are together. This is just another Harry's so sassy. Harry and Snape are together, and I think it's when I can't remember the exact situation, but basically Harry is talking to Snape and he says something like, "Yes." And Snape is like, "Yes, sir." And Harry's like, "Oh, there's no need to call me sir." And something like that. I love that part too. Oh my gosh, I love this guy. He's so sassy. It's hilarious. But I hate to say that right now. Otherwise, I would have forgotten.
Yeah, I like that part too. I do have a couple of things that I didn't mention. Just I'll say really quickly.
Yeah, go for it.
I like I'm forgetting the place where like the Order of the Phoenix is. I forget like the name exactly. Grimmauld? Something like
Grimmauld
that. Grimmauld Place.
Yeah.
I like that as a setting, and like getting to know the Black family more, and like more time that Harry has with Sirius in this one. And also I mentioned before, like the scene where they find out about like Neville's parents. And then just also like the reveal that it could have been like it was Harry or Neville, like with the prophecy. Like it was really just like Voldemort being like, it must be Harry Potter. And it's like, what? But then there's like a whole other person.
That's explained way better in the book than in the movie, by the way.
Yeah, I agree. And then with the occlumency lessons and stuff, you see like Snape's worst memory, which is like James, like Harry's dad, like being a asshole to him. And like honestly, James is like way worse than Draco, because he's like doing more like physically. But I like that we're getting more insight into Snape as a character, because it's not just things that like oh, he's being set up as the bad guy in terms of like the writing of the books, and it's not just like things that other characters are kind of presuming about him because he is sort of like mysterious and dark. And of course he's like head of a Slytherin house, so usually like the Hogwarts houses are such an indication of like a person's character. And then I think I wrote that with my experience and initial thoughts of reading this book, I actually, it's the only book on Goodreads that I have rated a 4 out of 5, even though I ranked it higher in this ranking, above obviously the other 3, and like specifically Goblet of Fire. And I think that's because at the time I like the things that I didn't like about the book just like really overshadowed the things that I did end up liking, but like in hindsight, not being like actively within the story right now. It's just like everything's sort of on the same level and like playing field. But I found that was interesting, because I was like, oh, this is I'm rating this one higher, but it's the only book that I have like a 4 out of 5.
Yeah. Also, one thing I was looking at my Goodreads real quick. Something that I forgot to mention: Ron and Hermione are prefects on this one.
Oh yeah. Wait, sorry, that was another thing I was going to mention. And it also just adds to with this one, and then this. I swear I like just was looking at things. Okay, I think they're prefects in the next one too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and okay, so yeah, I think that's a point for Half-Blood Prince that I have. So I'll mention that later.
Okay, sounds good. All right. A few comments. Like the movie for Order of the Phoenix more, but it does leave some stuff that I wish they kept in. Nice. Worst thing about prison was the Dementors. Are you talking about Avasca?
But like, look at his also that I think that's a line from The Office.
Oh yes.
And then his image is Michael Scott. I think Michael Scott says it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I actually haven't seen The Office, but my brother watches it, so
I should have known about that. I haven't seen The Office all the way through, but I knew about Prison Mike. Harry be a sassy boy, exactly. Control your emotions, discipline your mind. It's like my impressions are awful. I can
like picture it though when you say it like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I can do the like turn to page 394 because that's just like normal speaking. Although it's still bad, but like that's just like normal speaking. But like
it's like really monotone. That's just
it's basically Squidward. But anyways, okay. We are moving on, everyone, to our number 3. And I'm just going to do the same thing I did last time where as we talk, I'll just kind of share everyone's rankings so you guys can watch along. But Bailee, what is your number 3?
Is it getting too dark in here? I'm going to fix the blinds real quick.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So while she fixes the blinds, start commenting your number 3 pick.
I have to fix it again.
You're totally fine. While you're doing that, you're totally fine. Oh, it looks like Gavin's been on your channel before.
Oh, yeah. Well, I recognize your name just from like other people too that like all talk about movies and stuff.
Yeah, totally. Okay, number 3.
Okay, I wonder if it'll be the same. I have Deathly Hallows. Which I have a feeling.
Dang it, we broke the streak.
Yeah, I had a feeling that you were gonna have this higher than I did. But
on my old ranking, Deathly Hallows I think was my number 4. So that's like closer to my old ranking, but rereading it kind of changed. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. For this one, I think this is really well done. It's mostly just like the next 2 have much more that is like a personal preference for me and things that I like in stories. So this one just ends up being number 3. And I mean, this does include like a lot that I like, mostly like the like sort of origins and like prequel sort of information for Dumbledore. I love prequel and origin information, which makes a lot of sense considering things that are in the last 2 books that I have to mention. And I feel like sometimes this is like hit or miss with people because I think that not a lot of people are a fan of like the trio just sort of like camping out and like venturing around without.
That's like the most common complaint, it seems like.
Yeah. I don't mind that because they're spending time together, which I love. But then also, you know, they're trying to figure things out and have some sort of plan. But at the same time, like now it's the 3 of them that's so isolated and like, you know, communication with outside people, like they can't like risk that too much. So, and then like also them going back to Godric's Hollow, like I really like that part.
So
and especially, I mean, in my head, I'm just picturing like the movie scene, but like when they are at the graveyard and just like, I don't know, this is like the end. So it's like, everything just like comes to a conclusion and everything is just like, everything in the past is now like being faced head on. And now Harry actually has to like face Voldemort, like this thing that he's kind of known about for a number of years now, but like that's gotta be that's so much responsibility and like weight on your shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that a lot of this book though like feels there's so much rising action, and then it, as much as I love like Harry's speech at the end where he's like, let me tell you, Tom Riddle, that you're not so smart and things like that. As much as I love that, because unpopular opinion, I actually really like exposition and like when characters are explaining something.
Yeah, like a full exposition scene rather than it just kind of being like the audience has to decide.
Yeah. So I like his whole speech that he gives, but then it's just like it's kind of all over after that. Like after, I don't know, it almost feels anticlimactic, but then again, it's like a huge book. Oh, like also I have like this deluxe edition, by the way.
That's amazing. I've seen that before. I don't own it, but that's beautiful.
It has like I'll take this off. It has the original cover as like as like these end pages.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then on the back is like Voldemort, who like looks so much creepy. Like imagine this Voldemort in the movie. Oh my god, I'd be so afraid.
This is so bad to me, but he kind of looks like an evil frog to me. That picture.
He's supposed to look like a snake-like though, and like reptilian.
Frog.
And then the dust jacket is them on the dragon.
Such a good cover. I'm working on a puzzle right now, and it's a puzzle of all the Harry Potter book art, and that's one of the parts that I haven't completed yet. So I have seen that dragon picture many times because I'm always looking at the puzzle box. But and
then I think the only other thing that I was going to mention, two things, is that I like that like Dudley and Harry have like a moment, even though it's like an apology that is definitely a handful of years too late.
Yeah, way too late.
And I just in general, not necessarily, I can't like remember exactly like the roles that like Aunt Petunia plays, but I think that she's like a really interesting character because you can tell that she does care about Harry, but there's also this like just reminiscent like sort of a grudge in a way against her sister. And then also I think that to an extent she's just like appealing to what her husband, why can't I think of his name, but
Vernon.
like the way like just appeasing him and like his values. And you know, she is I like that she also like the reason why he has to go back to them every summer is because like she has the same blood as his mother, and so she's like casting a protection spell essentially.
I don't think they develop Petunia well in the movies. There's a deleted scene in the 7th one where she basically says like, you didn't just lose a mother that night, I lost a sister.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's a very sweet scene. I talked about this in mine and my little sister's live stream last night where like part of me wants them to include that, but the other part of me doesn't want them to include that because I love the opening of Deathly Hallows Part 1 where it's just like the music and it's the characters on the run. Like it's just Hermione obliviating her parents, the Dursleys moving out. And it's just like, it's such a cool opening scene to me.
Well, and you know, it really sets the tone for just like, all right, things are about to go down. Like this is the one.
Exactly. And so I feel like if they included that scene where Dudley and Harry shake hands and Petunia said that line, it would have kind of like ruined what they're going for at the beginning of Part 1. So that's like just another reason to read the books because then you get to see that side of the story. So,
and then I like the scene with Luna's father. I feel like you don't like him, but at the same time, you know that he's just trying to save Luna.
Yeah. Yes. I completely agree. It's like that scene is handled a little differently in the book too from the movie, but for the most part, Deathly Hallows is a great adaptation. Not so much towards the end of Battle of the Hogwarts,
into two movies. So
yeah,
I think I'm glad that they give it the time.
I think Part 1 is a better adaptation than Part 2, though. I think Part 2.
I agree.
Yeah, Part 2, the Battle of Hogwarts is different, and then Harry breaking the Elder Wand kills me. But
I Oh yeah,
My
like
number,
the wand and stuff, and like the whole explanation. I mean, I
yeah,
know that's part of Harry's speech, but like the whole thing where like him actually being the like owner of the Elder Wand is just like,
yeah,
oh my god. And the again, those details you don't necessarily like pick up on. Like you know he takes Draco's wand, but you don't recognize the significance of it.
yeah. I love the last movie because of what it is and because of how like much it means to me. But if I'm being realistic, like comparing movie to book, it's like there's a few things they leave out. Nick is jokingly saying Nick hasn't read the books. He just saw the movies for the first time like less than a year ago.
Oh.
Favorite Harry Potter book is Fantastic Beasts.
Where is that ranked?
It's not ranked. It's not ranked.
Yeah. I mean, at least that one is more so canon than the Cursed Child. So.
That's so true. Yes, that is true.
Oh my god, the lighting. I'm so sorry.
Deathly Hallows Part 3, straight up, if we had a 3-part finale, would not complain at all. But
yeah, well, you know that they're going to end up redoing all the Harry Potter stuff anyway, even though it's so like cemented and like we will always know these actors for these characters. Like, and so, like right now, Amazon's doing like a Lord of the Rings. Yeah. Like it's bound to be redone.
It's inevitable. I don't want it to happen, but it's inevitable.
I want to see I don't know. I want to see everything. That's the thing.
So you would like a remake of Harry Potter with like more in depth?
Yeah, because
maybe definitely a TV show, but still, it would be hard.
I was gonna say like I think that they would definitely go the series route, but again, like you'd have to have the Lord of the Rings Amazon series is like I think the most expensive series now ever.
That's what I've been reading.
I don't know the number or anything like that, but I mean for Harry Potter, you would have to have probably like the same budget because you have to be like filming them. You just have to go through everything because the actors, if you have children, they're gonna age.
Yeah, that'd be hard. And also, if the first season was a flop, those actors' lives would probably be ruined. Kind of like young Anakin in Star Wars. If it wasn't well accepted, they would just. What I'm getting at is they'd have to be very strategic. They would have to know what they were doing. Okay, my number 3 is actually number 3. And this to me, I mean, obviously I haven't talked about 6 or 7 yet, so you guys know those are my top 2. But this for me is the best Harry Potter book up until I get to 6 and 7, which I know that can go without being said. But I've always loved the story of this one so much. I love the movie too, but I try to only focus on the book.
I know.
I love how Hermione's always showing up out of nowhere and no one knows how she's getting, especially Ron. He's always like, where
did she come from?
Yeah, it's so funny. And then I think that the book explains the whole twist with Sirius Black much better than the movie does. The movie successfully does it, but it's kind of like, at least as a kid, like when I saw it for the first time in theaters, did not understand it at all. And that's probably just because I was a kid. But it's like, wait, what? Sirius Black is a friend all of a sudden? I think it's because when they finally do explain it, it's well explained, but it's kind of like it's a fast exposition scene. It's not like in the book they talk about how I don't know, they just go more into depth of Sirius Black's character. And they also portray Sirius Black in the movie as a much more psychotic person than he is in the book.
Yeah.
But that's not too bad. The book, I'm trying to think of things in the book because I think that this is also a good adaptation. There's things obviously left out of the movie, but it's just like, I don't know. It's kind of a cop-out answer, but I just always love the story so much. Like it's always just been one of the best Harry Potter stories to me. One thing, I just thought of something. Crookshanks plays a much bigger role in the book.
Yeah.
Like in the movie, Crookshanks is just Hermione's new cat, but in the book, straight up, it's like Sirius Black's friend. Like it's Crookshanks. Yeah. Harry sees Crookshanks and the black dog walking on the Hogwarts grounds one night, and he's like, "What the freak is Crookshanks doing with the Grim?" Because at the moment he thinks it's the Grim.
Yeah.
And it's so awesome. And then Crookshanks is the one that like pushes there's like the knot in the Whomping Willow that makes it stop.
Yeah.
Going crazy.
Yeah.
and Crookshanks like pushes the knot at times, and so Crookshanks has a bigger role. But that's one thing that I can see why they took it out of the movie. It's kind of like silly, but I like it in the book.
Well, and then it's more to do with with the cat as well, and then it's just like dealing with a cat on set.
Yeah, that's so true.
Like imagine trying to do that, and also like even though in the first two movies like the CGI I just take it for what it is. Like it doesn't look great, but like it's of its time, and I guess I don't really mind because I saw it like as a kid. But like I couldn't imagine like a fake cat trying to do things
so
more.
But really quick, moment of silence for I can't move my finger. There we go for Crookshanks.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, this is so hard. Okay, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Crookshanks by the Whomping Willow. Anyways,
I think the bathroom real quick.
Okay, yeah, you can totally go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Yeah. While she's gone, I'm going to read a few of these comments. So Michael was saying that he lives in the US, but he has the UK editions. I've always wanted the UK editions, but they are a very expensive price nowadays. Oh yeah, I've already been through these. And Nick has read the first 4 books. Nick, give me your ranking. First 4 books. Let's hear it. It's not real if there's not a ranking. I agree part 1 is a better adaptation, but part 1 is a weaker film because when you cut the hero's journey into 2 parts, it doesn't work that well. Stay tuned for my ranking of the movies tomorrow. What's your favorite Goblet of Fire book character that's not included in the movie? Sorry we're responding to this so late, Boo. That's my little sister, by the way. So my favorite Harry Potter the Goblet of Fire book character not in the movie. Let's think. So in the book, the 2 ones that come to my mind is Winky and Ludo Bagman, and I definitely like Winky more. Ludo Bagman's kind of a tool, but Winky is just crazy. It's a house elf. She's a house elf, and she's completely removed from the movie. I'm trying to think of any other characters that they remove. The Sphinx or whatever that's in the 3rd task? Like, come on, justice for the Sphinx, guys. Cursed Child is number 394 in the book. Yeah, there you go. Well played. I like that. Okay, isn't the Cursed Child a play, Nate? Why is it written like that? Yeah, it is a play. The book is just it's
a screenplay.
Yeah, it's a screenplay. Thanks. That's what I was trying to say. And so when you read the book, it's exactly like that, where it says like scene opens with the characters in the Ministry of Magic. I actually just read Cursed Child, so I have an opinion on it now. Yeah, for the first time.
Well, I'll talk about it when you talk about it then.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to talk about Cursed Child, so if you want to say anything, you can say it now.
I didn't even bother reading it because I had heard like so many bad things about it, and then I ended up watching like spoilery videos, just like really going into detail, and it like they don't even seem like the same characters, and then also like the magic doesn't even work the same. It bothers me so much that the entire premise is based on the time turner, and it's but that's not how time turners work. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's very frustrating. That's the exact reason I hadn't. Well, also I was on my mission for the church when it came out, so like I wasn't able to read it right away. But after, I always told myself I would read it after I read all the books again, and so I read it, and yeah, it's exactly everything you just said. Introducing the Dementors was great as well. Absolutely. I wanted to find the UK versions, but yeah, they cost a lot of money. Josh is in the chat. How's it going, Josh? We are at our number 2 rankings for the Harry Potter books. Nick has read the first 4 books, so his ranking is 1 Goblet of Fire. Oof, man. Yeah, sorry, that was like number. That was low on our. That was number 6 for us, or no, number 5. Mm-hmm. Number 5 for us. Prisoner of Azkaban, nice. Sorcerer's Stone, Chamber of Secrets. Honestly, never liked the story of Chamber of Secrets. Not my bag, baby. I don't know what that means. Okay, let's move on to number 2. Bailee, what is your number 2? And start commenting your number 2, everyone.
My number 2 is The Half-Blood Prince. And nice. So
we're back on sync. We're back in sync.
So we just have one that's switched.
1 and 3 is switched for us.
Yeah. I just love getting like Voldemort's backstory. It's my favorite part of this, and just like all the I mean, the cover is literally just like the pensive scene, and them going back and like looking at how Tom Riddle became Voldemort, and it is the origin story that I'm like always there for. I don't know, but like I don't have an explanation as to like why I like origin stories and why I like prequels. It's just like I love seeing the beginnings and how things develop into the way that we end up like seeing them in the present that you think you're in, I guess, depending on like the way that something is set. And then looking at my notes here, just I mean, part of it also just has to do with like connections. I love when things come back, which is more important in this book because of the vanishing cabinet that like is, I don't know what book it's mentioned in, but like it breaks or something like that. Like the other one breaks, and then it ends up being what Draco uses to get the Death Eaters on Hogwarts grounds, and it's like that was mentioned like once, and so it's significant in some way.
Speak really quickly. Speaking of that, of mentioning things and like things coming full circle, in the fourth book, Dumbledore totally mentions not the Ministry of Magic, the Room of Requirement as a place one day he was needing a place to go to the bathroom, and the Room of Requirement shows up. And then in the fifth one, they're like, oh, this is straight up the room that Dumbledore mentioned. So I love that. There's another thing. In the sixth one, when Harry, sorry, I'm kind of like talking about Half-Blood Prince too, because it's my number 2 also. So we'll kind of talk. But in the sixth book, Harry hides the Half-Blood Prince book in the Room of Requirement, and he marks where he hid it by getting a statue of a head and then putting a tiara on it, a diadem.
Yeah,
and that's the diadem. That's the Horcrux in the next book. And so it's like super cool how in the seventh book, it's like Harry remembers. He's like, oh my gosh, I saw that a year ago, and I was holding it in my hands. And so really cool to do that. But sorry, you can keep talking.
Okay. Well, this is the other book that Hermione and Ron are prefects, and again, I like that one. It like gives them time to sort of like be together, and even though you're not necessarily like getting those scenes, it kind of makes sense and like gives hints as to like them being together later on. But then also, I think it's so important for Harry because he's having these like meetings with Dumbledore, and he like I said before, he does feel like a very like isolated character kind of throughout all the books, but then there are of course the times when it's like the trio, but usually there is something that like is him recognizing that he is somehow different. And like I know that some people don't necessarily like that in terms of like the chosen one trope and things like that, but I think that's just like a detail that's like well written here to have sort of like an excuse for Ron and Hermione to be somewhere else, to have other responsibilities so that Harry can do what he has to do in a way. And then this is the book that has like Slughorn and the Slug Club. I really like those scenes. And I love the party where like he invites Luna, and it's just like, again, I love their friendship, which it's something that I like in the books as well. I think is well done in the movies, even though I wish like there was like a little more time with it. But you can tell that they like have this connection, and I love that Harry just isn't, even though it's not like this book that we meet her in, he's not immediately like kind of like bagging on her too and calling her like loony and things like that. He's just like, she's a person. And I think that Slughorn is such an interesting character because you can tell that he wants to like connect with the students and be like beneficial to them, but also like kind of wants to benefit back like later in life. But he's also trying to be like careful at the same time. And this is, I think, one of the first times that we really get to see another, like a different kind of Slytherin character, especially like one that isn't just like, hey, Slytherin are the bad guys. Like, okay, can we have some more depth?
Is a very nice Slytherin.
And then also just like with the Half-Blood Prince and the textbook, first of all, like I wasn't really surprised at it being Snape because I figured it was going to be like a sort of reveal. Like it's probably going to be someone that we don't really like, that like Harry's going to be really surprised about, and that we as the audience is supposed to be surprised about. So I was either thinking like Voldemort or Snape, and then it ends up being Snape. And I mean, I think it's kind of obvious. Like now looking at it, it's kind of obvious, but at the same time, I think that's a good decision because it's something that can connect Harry to Snape more and see him more as like a person and not just like sort of what they've been projecting Snape to be like. And then also like I think recognizing similarities between the two of them can also just add on to like his decision later on to like name his son after Severus. And I think that's kind of a weird decision because like Snape, I have complicated feelings.
His whole life.
Yeah. Like Snape is, I don't like him, but I think he's probably the most interesting character just because he's so like in that gray area.
Yes.
But like, why is he so mean to Harry? Like I get it, but I don't. You would think that if he loved Lily, then he would be like nice to her son. Like, why do you have beef with an 11-year-old? Like, geez.
James Potter really affected Severus, man.
Yeah. And then just like it makes me wonder though if he obviously the scheme of things would not play out the way they do, but it makes me wonder if he was nicer to Harry, if they could have had some sort of like mentee-mentor relationship, especially like the occlumency scenes. Those lessons would have gone so much smoother in the previous book, and they are similar in ways. So to have some sort of like connection like that, I think would be significant. But I mean, there are other characters that Harry, the way things go, like Harry is more interested obviously in like Sirius and Lupin and stuff like that. So and then also like he wrote the potion, he like annotated the potions like textbook. Like why didn't he write a textbook? Like why is that the textbook they're using? Why is it wrong? Why did he improve upon it and then didn't do anything with it?
Doesn't write the ministry or anything and say, hey, your instructions are wrong.
Yeah, okay. It mostly like this is so at the top for me because of like the origin of Voldemort. So
absolutely,
that's the big thing.
Yeah, I love the origins as well. There's a lot of origin stories they leave out of the movie. I think that they include the big important ones. Like you, of course, see Voldemort's memories, but like you see Slughorn's memory and you see when Dumbledore meets Tom in the orphanage. But several other memories are just like not even included in the movie. Again, it's for time, but I think that they kind of what the movie does is they explain what memories they exclude in later movies, in later like adaptations. Like, anyways, I don't want to talk about the adaptation. I want to talk about the book. So I have my Goodreads right here, and I said that first off, I love this comment where Peter's just listing off everything that's good. In my previous Harry Potter book ranking, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince was number one. It's funny because also Nick mentioned how this is his least favorite of the movies, and when I was younger, I didn't love the Half-Blood Prince movie either. And so reading this book, I was like, oh man, like not a big fan of the movie too much. So this is going to be interesting. But ever since I read it for the first time, it's been my favorite, or now I guess my second favorite book. I love the origin story. Like what you said about Voldemort, we learned so much more about him. And I
think it's important for the story as well. Like,
yes,
as much as I like a lot of mystery around Voldemort, it's just like, but more, please, I guess.
Yeah. And I wrote also really quickly, see you later, Gavin. Have a good night. But I wrote that I love Harry's obsession with Malfoy in this book. Like he has his Marauders map open basically every night, and he just watches Malfoy walk into the room of requirement. He's just wondering what he's doing the whole entire book, and it's super cool. It's cool that Malfoy becomes such a bigger character in this story, and something they leave out of the movie. They kind of include it, but it's It's Malfoy crying in the bathroom. In the book, he cries in the bathroom and he speaks to Moaning Myrtle about it.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of hinted at earlier on in the book, which I think is cool.
And then I think doesn't Myrtle say something later to Harry?
Yeah, she says something about I think she says the only person who ever visits me is a boy who's always crying now, or it's something like that, where she mentions a boy who's crying.
Yeah.
And later on you find out it was Malfoy, which is like so sad. But I cried this time I reread the book at Dumbledore's death, because while I was reading it, I listened to the soundtrack when Dumbledore dies in the movie.
Oh my God.
And it made the book so much more depressing. So that was awful. Like,
you put yourself in the atmosphere.
Yes, exactly. The sad thing is about the book is they include the characters' reactions to finding out about Dumbledore. Like Hagrid starts crying, and Hagrid, like, I love Hagrid so much that like hearing him cry makes me so sad. And then everyone else finding out.
It's other people's reactions that like really get me. Like, oh my man, with Goblet of Fire. Like I can't remember how it goes in the book, but like when Cedric's dad is like, "That's my boy," I'm like,
"My boy
now."
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, I also think that in my Goodreads review from June of last month, June, I said, this is also such a great lead into Deathly Hallows. Absolutely stoked. It's funny because like the way I wrote it, it sounds like it's my first time reading the series, or like knowing about the story. But I stand by that. I think it's an amazing lead into the story. So, my boy, there it is. All right, everyone. You know our number ones by now, but Bailee, let's go ahead and talk about your number one, and then I'll talk about mine.
Yes, Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite. It's another one where there's just like all these connections, because not only there's the connections with like with the Marauders and like Harry's parents and the things from the past, but then also you have the whole time turner scene where you're like, oh wait, we understand now why things are happening. And I also really like that the time turners are used in this way. I think I remember a previous video of yours where you were like talking about obviously this book or like some aspect of Harry Potter, and then you were like, why don't they ever use the time turners to like stop Voldemort? And I was like, because it doesn't actually change anything. And then you're like, oh, that makes so much sense. And I just I love that's big.
That was a big question I had, because I didn't remember them mentioning that, and so I was like, big plot hole, I don't like it. But I was glad that it was clarified to me. Plus, after the fifth one, all the time turners are destroyed, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, except for the one that ends up being in the Cursed Child.
Well, no, but the dumb thing is, I don't know if you know this, but there's, except for the one that they use in Cursed Child, but then Malfoy also has another one. He's like, my father had this from his dark artifacts. It's like, what? Stop.
I mean, his father would, but still.
It's true. It's just like, it's milking it. Just, sorry, keep talking about Prisoner.
That's okay. Yeah, I like that the time turners are used in that way, because I think it like fixes so many plot holes in a way, like, because I don't know, it seems kind of confusing and like almost meta in the way that you have to think about, well, like if it always happens that way but they still have to go back in time, it seems more confusing than it actually is, I guess. But yeah, I like seeing those connections. And it also makes it just seem so much longer, in my opinion. I don't know, like...
Yeah. It's such a short book. I was actually going to mention, it's cool that your number one is the third shortest book, but it just proves how great Prisoner of Azkaban is, because while it's a short book, I feel like there is so much story in it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And just information in general. Because there's descriptions of the characters, but then also that plays into like more sort of storyline and again, like things from the past. And I love the Marauders. I love the Marauders map. And then like Lupin is my favorite. Like obviously he's in my top three. I don't even, in this moment, I can't really explain like why he's one of my favorites. But I mean, I guess technically in a way that this is like the first time where Harry, besides like scenes that he's had with Dumbledore. This is like the first time where he's getting more of like a father figure. And then also it's similar to the way that like Goblet of Fire is, with like you have sort of like reveal after reveal and like twist ending after twist ending, because then you think that Sirius Black is bad the whole time, and then you're like, oh no, like Lupin's with Sirius Black, and then you think like Lupin's bad, but then it does a whole other flip basically, and then you realize that they're good, and then it's just like Ron's rat is the bad guy.
Yeah,
and then,
it's insane.
Which is so also like, I wonder how much that was like planned, like how much, like when she originally wrote like Scabbers, was she like, all right, this is actually gonna be a dude, and
well, it bothers me because in the second movie, Ron turns Scabbers into a cup, like a goblet, and I've always wondered, how does Peter Pettigrew feel right now as this is happening to him? But
maybe that's I mean, I know that his like wand is broken, but I kind of wonder if that's why like things don't work out for him so well, because like he's not just turning a rat into something, he's turning like a person into a rat into a goblet and things like that. Because it like still, I can like picture it. It like still has the tail.
Totally, yeah. It's the
like,
goblet with the tail, and I just wonder how uncomfortable. And then like every time I watch that scene, I'm super uncomfortable because he leaves it as the goblet. So I'm like, oh my gosh, is he like suffocating? I don't know why, but like that scene bothers me because of that. Oh, Peter commented about my Quaffle House shirt. Yeah, Quaffle House, open 24 hours, Hogsmeade, Scotland.
I have a Luna shirt on.
Oh yes, that's amazing. I love that.
I have a couple more things. Sure. I also just like that this is it's shown so well in the movie, which I think is why one of the reasons why like people love Prisoner of Azkaban as a movie. Obviously, like it's also just like oh my, Alfonso Cuarón, is that director, right? Yeah, he like is more of like an auteur in terms of like a director, so it's just also that as like an element. But I love that this is like the first time that you're getting a glimpse of like real darkness, and like things have been hidden before this, and now, and of course like with the Dementors, like they automatically like make things like darker and like creepy, and I really like those elements. And then I have the how dare you speak to Harry.
Oh yeah.
I love that part, because again, it's like you think that Sirius Black is like this bad guy, but then he's so protective, like immediately, and you know that he's actually like looking out for Harry the whole time. And then of course you get more like realization with like, oh, the Grim was actually just him the whole time, like making sure, like keeping an eye on him. And then this is also like kind of coinciding with like the darkness that's like in this book that just continues with the rest of the series, is that now we're getting more of a look at the wizarding world overall, which happens as you continue with the series. But there's Dementors, there's werewolves, there's animaguses, there's now we're getting a glimpse at more creatures that are so interesting and like appealing when you're first starting the series, like with the first book. All the scenes in like the Forbidden Forest where you're like introduced to like, oh my god, what could be living in here. And yeah, I guess that's it, because I love mostly all the Marauder stuff in terms of that being like backstory for Harry and Harry's parents, and then the whole Time Turner connection. I love connections. That's it.
Yeah. No, I love that so much. Like I said, before the 6th and the 7th, that one is definitely my favorite. I love the story of Prisoners so much. Beast Mode says, any chance of a Harry Potter box set? I think pigs will fly before we get that. I mean, obviously that would be great, but even like, okay, Criterion's and Harry Potter, two things I love so much, but like I cannot see them together. They're
just too different.
They're also way too different.
Warner Brothers would never.
Oh, I know. Harry Potter doesn't scream Criterion. I can't even, like, what would the covers be? I don't know. The video essays, the supplements, I just can't imagine it. But yeah, anyways, Okay, before I talk about Deathly Hallows, I like what Luke said here. I couldn't honestly rank the books. I haven't reread them all in far too long. That's fair. But I think I would actually put Hallows as my number one. It's just incredible and reading it after midnight on release. Wow. In fact, it'd almost be impossible to rank them. Neither was I. I got it. I got it for my 11th birthday, but I hadn't read any of the other books, so I was really confused by it. Impossible to rank them. Yeah, so Luke, I think you're just joining. Earlier, we mentioned that both of us, it's basically like, yes, we're ranking them, but we love all of them. It's like we're ranking our least, I don't want to say least favorite. Like, it's exactly that, our least favorite. So it's still a favorite of ours.
Emphasis on the favorite.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a worst to best ranking. It's a least favorite to our favorite, but we love all of them. Even though Azkaban is the best movie, it didn't quite capture the amazement I felt when Harry saw his dad on the other side of the lake. That's a fair point. Wizard Collection is already one of the best box sets ever. It's fine. Yeah, that's true. And okay, so I want to talk about Deathly Hallows for a second because, yeah, I mentioned this earlier, but on my first ranking of the video, or my first video of my ranking, it was number 4. I grudgingly rewatched my ranking today because I was like, oh, I wonder how different it is. And yeah, Deathly Hallows was number 4. And I was one of the people, I said the camping was slow. And to be honest, going back on my word, I remember during the time that I finished Deathly Hallows, I finished it the same night that Catching Fire came out, the midnight premiere. I remember I got home from Catching Fire and I was like, I have a few more pages left of Deathly Hallows. Let's finish it up. Let's finish Harry Potter once and for all. It wasn't good timing. It was awful timing because I was in the Hunger Games world.
Yeah.
I was so excited about Catching Fire. I thought it was an amazing movie. And so reading Deathly Hallows was more of a thing to say, all right, I finally read Harry Potter. But this last go around, this was my second time ever reading it. I remember driving in the car and I was listening to the audiobook at this point. It was the 7 Potters chapter. And that was the moment where I realized, yeah, it's so good. It was in that moment I realized, holy crap, this actually might be my new favorite Harry Potter book. Because I love the Deathly Hallows movies. Those rank high on my list for movies. And just reading the book again and oh my gosh, that was lightning. I don't know if you saw a flash, but
yeah, I noticed it earlier. There was a flash and I was like, I don't know what that was.
I did a face too. It was lightning. But yeah, I just listening to the book and then reading the book also, it was such a page turner. Part 1 ends around page 500. And I remember my sister was so excited because what we would do is every time I finished a book, we would watch the movie. And so I finished part one, when it got to page 500, and then part 2 was a breeze to finish. But everything about it, I think that the adaptations of the book to movie, it's really well done. But still, the book, you get, you get so much more. Yeah. Oh, for one, Peter Pettigrew's death is actually in the book. In the movie, he just kind of gets knocked unconscious. But in the book, he chokes himself with this spell that.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
I totally forgot that happened.
Okay, so did I. I was reading it this last time and I'm like, holy crap, geez, oh my goodness, that's intense. So that's a crazy death scene. The Prince's Tale, we mentioned that on the live stream last night, is an amazing chapter. The final 3, they are really the spotlight. I mean, they always are kind of spotlight, but this book especially, I just feel like there's such big spotlight and it's fun. Someone commented this earlier in this stream, but so much happens in Deathly Hallows. I think that it's such a good movie to split in 2 parts because there's exciting moments in the beginning, there's exciting moments at the end. And it's crazy to me to read the book and think, wait, this is the same book that the 7 Potter scene happened in because it seems like such an early on scene, but the whole thing is just exciting, nonstop excitement. Gosh, yeah. And so I think it's my favorite for the fact that it also wraps everything up so well. I cried when I finished reading it this time around because I just love Harry Potter so much, and the books were amazing. The thing is, I've been meaning to reread the books for years, and so finally rereading them, that's why it was such a momentous occasion. But Luke says, I queued up at midnight and some girls drove past holding the book out of their car window screaming, Harry dies, cackling like actual witches. Oh my gosh. People are they're crazy. Sup, Nathan. Sup. Of course, it's happening inside your head, Harry. But why should that mean that it isn't real?
I like
Yep,
that line.
that's such a good line.
Yeah.
Oh, that I think that's I love that scene so much. I love that scene in the book too. But I think that's the only chapter of the book that's a little slow for me. Maybe it's because in the movie it's pretty similar. I don't know. I think every chapter in this book is exciting though. It's just so great. But that does it. Any final thoughts, Bailee?
Not really. I mean, there's literally so much that I feel like we can't even touch on, but
It's
obviously we were trying to be at least I was somewhat being concise. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. Like this could have, I don't know. I feel like already going live, we were able to just like scratch the surface of our love for the books and like what we love about each book. The only thing that's worse is if we would have done like a pre-recorded like 10-minute video where like, oh, here's my number 8 and all that, or number 7. I always say number 8. I'm thinking of the movies. Here's my number 7. Like, I'm glad that we at least had a chance to have some time to talk about it. But that's gonna wrap it up for the night. Thank you everyone for joining so much, for sharing your rankings of the books. Really quickly, Peter, we were almost identical. Just our 1 and 2 is switched, so that's super funny. But
that worked out so well though too, because then it's just like lengthening of the time of talking about it.
Yes, it's so true. It's really convenient that yours and mine, our 1 and 3 is switched, and then Peter and our 1 and 2 is switched. So you both have great taste. Everyone else, your taste is awful. Anyways, no, it's okay. But thank you everyone for joining, and make sure to tune back in tomorrow to check out the live stream for the movies ranked with Brandon, the Brando Critic. Before I go though, I want Bailee. Do you want to say a few words about your channel?
Oh, sure. Well, I just like making videos where I talk about what I'm doing and what I'm up to, and usually that includes movies and music and books. So
Criterions.
Yeah, I'm a big Criterion person. Yeah. Criterions are like, I feel like it's kind of some of the more like easy content to make.
Yeah.
So
well, honestly, you've answered a lot of my questions when it comes to Criterions, and you've made some great recommendation videos. So if any of you viewers are also Criterion fans, definitely head over to Bailee's channel because she makes some great Criterion content. You can tell, not to like start talking about you while you're here, but you can tell that Bailee really knows what she's talking about when it comes to the Criterion collection, which is why I love her channel so much.
Thank you.
But yeah, no problem. I have her information in the description. And so head over to her channel, hit that subscribe button. But that will do it for tonight, guys. I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great night.